Before started off our second expert talk, I would like to introduce Dr. Ashok Kumar sir. He obtained PhD in condensed matter physics from Himachal Pradesh University, Shimla. He was UGC DS Kothari postdoctoral fellow at Punjab University, Chandigarh. He worked in the group of Professor Ravindra Pandey at Michigan Tech University, which is in USA. He worked on theoretical investigation of low-dimensional condensed matter systems within density function theory framework. He is a recipient of Young Scientist Award by Punjab Academy of Sciences in the year 2015, and he received Best Research Award in 2018 and 2020 by the Central University of Punjab. He has published more than 50 research papers with average impact factor of 3.5. His high indexed papers is 21 with 1700 citations in his credit. He has guided 3 students so far, and 3 are currently in his guiding. I express my gratitude to Dr. Ashok Shah to accept our invitation for an expert talk on introduction to density function theory. So I request to sir to please proceed for his talk.
Thank you very much. I hope this screen is visible to all.
Right, sir. Sir, please proceed for your expert talk.
Okay. Thank you very much. So first of all, I would like to thank the organizer for inviting me in this workshop. So today I am going to talk about the introduction to density function theory. So this theory is a very versatile theory, and not only in physics, it has been used by researchers in the almost all field of science, all the fields of science, such as the chemistry, material science, biology, etc. So when we talk about the materials or materials modeling, we talk about the atoms in that particular material, and we talk about the electrons in that particular atoms. So when we talk in terms of the quantum mechanics, so we talk about the finding the solution of that particular atom using quantum mechanical equation. For example, if you want to solve the hydrogen atom, we have to use Schrodinger equation to solve this hydrogen atom. Solving the hydrogen atom using Schrodinger equation meaning is that you want to find out the total energy of that particular atom. Okay, so but in the case of hydrogen atom, it is easy for the Schrodinger equation to find out the wave function and the energy, etc. But when we go from hydrogen atom to the other atom, for example, the helium atom, carbon, and so on, where the number of electrons are going to go on increasing, in that particular case, the Schrodinger equation doesn't work. And we have to apply some kind of approximation, some kind of theory to solve this multi-electron system. So density functional theory is one of such theory which uses some quantum mechanical approximation, and this is we call it as a first principle theory as well, because first principle in that sense, because we don't use any kind of parameterization in that particular theory. So this theory, this equation of that density functional theory equation is very, very similar to that of Schrodinger equation, but there are some differences. I will be going to discuss about this difference between Schrodinger equation and the density functional theory in the later slides. So when we talk about the atoms, multi-electron atoms, multi-electron systems, we talk about the nuclei, electrons there. Okay, so here in the case of density functional theory, we apply some this theory is basically approximation from which in this approximation we go from n electron system to one electron system. This is very important thing, that in this theory we go from n electron system to the n one electron system, so that we can easily solve this multi-electron system. So let us start with the description of the quantum n-body system. So in quantum system, we have the atoms, we have the electrons, such like this. So we can see here, these are electrons, these are the nuclei. Electrons are moving, nuclei are also slowly moving in the case of the materials. If you see the quantum chemical description, so the Hamiltonian, first thing is that we have to write the Hamiltonian for that particular system. If you want to describe that particular system quantum mechanically. So this is the first term. There are 4 or 5 terms. This first term is the kinetic energy of the electrons. Second term is the kinetic energy of the nuclei. This third term is the electron-electron interaction energy, which is very complicated. And then the fourth term is the nuclei interaction energy, Coulombic type interaction. And the last one is this fourth term is the electron nuclei interaction energy, electron nuclei, and last one is the nuclei interaction energy. But as such, this Hamiltonian we cannot solve exactly, because there are number of electrons, number of terms are there. We have to try some kind of approximation. Okay, so first type of approximation which can be applied is that the mass of nuclei are very large as compared to the mass of electrons. In other words, the velocity of electron is very large as compared to nucleus. Okay, so in that sense, what we can say that electrons are moving very fast as compared to the nuclei. So that we can discard, for the time being, we can discard the motion of the nuclei, and we can only take the electrons motion, or in other words, we can say that we can decouple the motion of the electrons and nuclei. So for the time being, we don't need to bother about this term, which is the kinetic energy of nuclei, because these nuclei are very heavy as compared to electrons, and its energy is going to be very small. Similarly, the nuclei interaction energy, which can be discarded for the time being, and we only left with the first 3 terms. First is the kinetic energy of the electrons, second one is the electron interaction energy, and third one is the electron nuclei interaction energy. So we only left with the 3 terms. Okay, and this approximation, the approximation which I am talking about, that the mass of the nuclei is very large as compared to electrons. This approximation is called the Born-Oppenheimer approximation. Born-Oppenheimer approximation. So after applying this Born-Oppenheimer approximation in the multi-electron system, we get the electrons motion only. We can get the electrons motion, or we decouple the motion of electrons from the nuclei. So the first model to describe this electrons motion or electronic thing is the Hartree method. The Hartree method is the first one electron model, which is simplified model, which is given by Hartree in way back in 1928. Okay, since Hartree model, we can say that we have the kinetic energy of the electrons. These are the external potential energy, which is the electron nuclei interaction energy. Okay, so second term. Third one is the Hartree energy. Hartree energy is nothing but this is the electron interaction type interaction energy. This is a simple Coulombic type repulsion energy. These 3 terms are there. So nuclear terms has been discarded for the time being. Okay, and this equation is the Hartree equation. This equation is called Hartree equations, where for the simplicity, H cross and the charge on electron, mass of electron can be taken constant or a 1. And because these are the constant things, and later on after the calculations, these can be later on included in the results. Okay, so in this Hartree method, basically this total energy of that system, multi-electron system, can be written like this. Okay, so total energy is nothing but this is the sum of the energy of the individual electrons, E1, E2, E3 up to En, if you have n electron. Okay, so wave function can be just the simple multiplication of the first electron wave function, second electron wave function, third electron wave function, and so on, the n electron wave function. This is a very, very simplified model and a very crude model actually. And if you see in the case of hydrogen atom, if you find out the total energy of hydrogen atom, it comes out to be minus 13.6 electron volt. Okay, which is very, very exact as compared to the experimental value. Experimental value of the hydrogen atom is minus 13.6 electron volt. So it is very exact for the single electron system. Although Schrödinger equation can be also solved for the hydrogen atom. Okay, so it is very exact because we have only one electron there. We have only one electron there. So when we go from one to 2 electron, 3 electron, what happened? The electron fractions has to be taken care there, and we have to apply there some kind of approximations. So Hartree method, actually what is the basic drawback of this method? This method doesn't follow two basic quantum mechanical principles. First one is the antisymmetry principle. What is the antisymmetry principle of quantum mechanics? It says that the total wave function of multi-electron system or fermionic system should be antisymmetric. That is, total wave function should be antisymmetric in the multi-electron system or fermions. Second one is that Pauli exclusion principle, that two electrons having the same spin cannot reside in the same orbital. So these two basic principles are not being considered in the case of the Hartree method. Okay, so that we can say that it doesn't account the exchange and correlation energy coming out from the n electron nature of the actual system. So what is this exchange and correlation kind of interaction? I will be discussing a little bit more detail about this interaction in the later slide. These are basically interactions which comes into picture due to the antisymmetry nature of the wave function of the quantum mechanical phenomenon, quantum mechanical nature of the wave function. Okay, so I will be discussing this a little bit more detail in the next few slides. I hope I am audible to all. Dr. Rao?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So the modified version of that Hartree method is the Hartree-Fock method. So what is there in Hartree method? In Hartree method, the spin of the electron was not considered. That's why there is no Pauli exclusion principle, no antisymmetry principle. So in Hartree-Fock method, spin was included by Hartree and Fock in 1930. So what they did actually, they write the total wave function for multi-electron system in terms of the Slater determinant. Okay, in Slater determinant for the 2 electron system. So for the helium atom, the Slater determinant can be written like this: psi r1 r2 is this wave function for the first electron, which is positioned at r1, wave function for the second electron, which is positioned at r1 again. So first electron wave function positioned at R2 and second electron positioned at R2. So I can write the Slater determinant for the 2 electron system, for example, helium atom like this. Okay, so that I can just slightly modify or simplify it like this. This is for the 2 electron system. Similarly, for the 3 electron system, you can write the 3 cross 3 determinant. So on for the n electron system, you can write the n cross n determinant, Slater determinant. Okay, so what is the beauty of that Slater determinant? By exchanging the 2 rows, okay, by exchanging the 2 rows, it changes the sign. It means when you exchange the 2 rows, it changes the sign so that psi r1 r2 equal to minus psi r2 r1. This is nothing but this is the antisymmetry. This is the antisymmetry of the wave function. Okay, this is antisymmetry of the wave function. What is the antisymmetry rule? That when we exchange the 2 position of the electrons, the resultant wave function should change sign. So the important thing in the Slater determinant is that for multi-electron system, when you exchange the 2 rows or any 2 rows of that particular determinant, it changes the sign so that it is in line with the antisymmetry principle. Okay. Secondly, you can also include the spin variable in the determinant. So just like that, for 2 electron system, upspin, downspin, you can just include the 2 electron spin, upspin, downspin there like this. Okay, so if the question is if the two electrons, okay, having same spin are positioned in the same orbitals, then the total wave function becomes 0. In other words, in that case, what happened? The 2 rows or 2 columns will be identical. So this is a rule of the determinant, that if two rows or columns are identical, then what happened? The total wave function becomes the zero. Determinant becomes zero. So this is in line with the second quantum mechanical principle, that is the Pauli exclusion principle. Okay, that is two electrons having same spin cannot reside in the same orbital. Okay, so these two quantum mechanical principles, which are absent in the case of Hartree method, was taken care here in the case of Hartree-Fock method. Okay, so in other words, the quantum mechanical principle has been included in the Hartree-Fock method, which was absent in the case of Hartree method. Okay, so if you want to write the total energy in the Hartree-Fock method, you can just write in a simple way, such that when you find out the total energy in the case of Schrodinger equation, for example, for hydrogen atom, what you do, we do basically we find out expectation value of that particular Hamiltonian. Okay, so here this is the Hamiltonian for the Hartree-Fock equation, Hartree-Fock method. It's kinetic energy. External energy means electron nuclei interaction. Okay, electron nuclei attractive type interaction. Uij, the third term, is the electron interaction, repulsive type interactions. Okay, this is a Hamiltonian. Hψ is equal to Eψ kind of thing. Okay, where Uij, this is the interaction between the two electrons. And we have taken here 1/2 just to avoid this double counting. Means first electron is interacting with the second electron. Okay, second electron interacting with the first electron, both are same thing. Okay, so to avoid double counting, this 1/2 has been included in the electron-electron interaction. Okay, so assuming that wave function is normalized, you can find out the expression for energy like this. So this is the energy, this expectation value. P is the integration psi star h psi. This is nothing but this is the expectation value of the that particular Hamiltonian. Okay, you can find out the energy. Okay, so energy can be written like this: integration psi I star psi I. This is a Hamiltonian there. Okay, so if you carefully see this equation, when you find out expectation value, the first two terms, these will depend upon one electron coordinate. So it is depending upon one electron, because we are dealing with the single electron. There is a association of the one electron coordinate. Okay, so energy calculation is simple, that you can just find out the integration like this: integration of psi star minus half del I square psi I r dr. Similarly, second term. But when you see the this last term, third term, last term depends upon two electronic coordinates. So there are association of two electronic coordinates, one at ith position, second electron at jth position. Okay, that particular term, last term, which is very complicated, it results into two energy term. Okay, these two energy terms are, first one is the Hartree energy. And Hartree energy is nothing but this is simple Coulombic type interaction between the two charges positioned at I and jth position, or simple Coulombic type interaction between the ith electron and jth electron. Okay, classical type of interaction is there. But second term is exchange energy. Exchange energy is very important, which comes from the anti-symmetry nature of the wave function. This is purely due to the quantum mechanical phenomenon. This exchange energy comes into picture due to purely quantum mechanical phenomenon. Okay, it says that same spin electrons avoid each other and keeping some distance and reduce the corresponding repulsive energy. Okay, actually what is happening, two electrons are interacting with each other, so there is some repulsive energy between these two, and two electrons want to keep apart from each other. Okay, so this, in other words, what is exchange energy? In other words, what you can say, this is the interaction between the two electrons having same spin. Okay, interaction between the two electrons having the same spin. This is exchange energy which comes into picture, which is not the case of the Schrodinger equation. In the Schrodinger equation, we have only kinetic energy and potential energy. Okay, so here Hartree-Fock theory, Hartree-Fock method, we have the kinetic energy, potential energy, Hartree energy, and fourth one is the exchange energy. Okay, so as compared to Schrodinger equation, we have, for a multi-electron system, we have kinetic energy of the electrons, external energy, that is electron nuclear interaction energy. Hartree energy is simple electron-electron Coulombic time interaction. Exchange energy is purely quantum mechanical phenomenon, okay, which arises due to the antisymmetry nature of the wave function. This is additional term which has been included in the case of Hartree-Fock method. So when you calculate the total energy of the helium atom using this Hartree-Fock method, it comes out to be minus 77.5 electron volt, and which is very, very close to that of the experimental value minus 78.98 electron volt. But still there is some difference between these two energies. Okay, this is a total energy. This is how we can calculate the total energy in the case of the Hartree-Fock method. Method is simple as that of the Schrodinger equation. We find out just expectation value and we take a multi-electron system. Okay, so but problem is that this multi-electron, this Hartree-Fock method, so it is based on the wave function. It is based on the wave function. So when you take this wave function, and wave function, for example, in the case of the wave function, we have 3n degree of freedom for the n electrons. So for example, if you have the 100 electron in a system, multi-electron system, then there is 300 degree of freedom, 3n, 300 degree of freedom, which has to be taken care in these calculations, and which is very, very difficult to taken care. It is very, very difficult to track these 300 degree of freedom for the 100 electrons. Okay, so computationally it becomes very, very cumbersome, very, very expensive to calculate the total energy of multi-electron system using the Hartree-Fock method, which is based upon the wave function. Okay, so another alternative method is in terms of density. So density functional theory, we take this density as a variable, not a wave function. Okay, all the properties of the system can be considered as a unique functional of the ground state density. Okay, so there is a special role assigned to the density of particles, density of electrons in the case of density functional theory. Okay, so now I will be discussing about the density functional theory. So what is the problem with the Hartree-Fock theory? It is very, very computationally very, very expensive to solve in terms of wave function. One additional thing is that in the Hartree-Fock theory, this correlation energy is missing. Although this Hartree-Fock theory talk about the exchange energy, that is the interaction between the two electrons having the same spin, but it doesn't talk about the interaction energy between the two electrons having the different spin. That is, this interaction between the two electrons having different spins gives rise to the correlation energy. That is missing there, so it has been taken care in the density functional theory. Okay, so which is nowadays very, very versatile theory, and which has been used in the almost all branches of the sciences, physics, chemistry, material science, biology, etc. Okay, so electron density. So whole this theory, density functional theory, is based upon this electron density. So if you take the example of silicon atom, for example, okay, in the case of silicon atom, so you can write density like this. So you can plot a graph for density like this. This is a core electron. Okay, for silicon atom, these are the core electrons, and core electrons are, you know that core electrons are very near to that of nuclei, and so that they are strongly attracting to that of nuclei, so that these are localized. Okay, so that sharp peaks gives the it shows that these core electrons are the highly localized. But if you see the valence electrons here, so these are highly delocalized. Okay, so density is nothing but density. If you integrate the density of that particular atom, it should be equal to total number of electrons in that particular atom. Okay, if you take the example of the bulk structure, silicon bulk. This is for the case of atom. This is for the silicon bulk. So if you take when we talk about the bulk system, when we talk about the solid system, we talk about unit cell or primitive cell. Okay, silicon bulk system, you can see we have these atoms there in the unit cell, silicon unit cell, and these are the charge, these are the electron charge density distribution like this. Okay, so in the case of density functional theory, this density can be written like this. Density is nothing but these are the phi I r square. What are the phi i's? Phi i's are the occupied orbitals, and these are non-interacting. Okay, occupied orbital means we have one orbitals. For example, in the case of silicon, 1s orbital, 2s orbital, 3s orbital, so on. In 1s orbital, we can have 2 electrons. Okay, so this 2 is for that, because one orbital can reside 2 electrons. Okay, so this is the density is nothing but this phi I r square. Simple psi I star psi I square, probability density. Okay, so density, this is there's nothing but this is the probability density, which can be find out in the case of density DFT by this phi I r square. Okay, just taking the magnitude square magnitude. If we know, so see, if we know an atomic electron density, we can roughly generate the electron density for solid. Okay, if you know the atomic electron density, you can roughly generate the electron density for solid. Once you obtain the electron density for solid, so your work is over, and you can easily find out using density functional theory. You can easily find out all the properties of that particular system. Okay, so let us see how the various properties can be calculated using this density functional theory. So before that, this density functional theory is based upon 2 fundamental theorems. Okay, so this density functional theory is based upon 2 fundamental theorems. First one is the first theorem, which is given by Hohenberg and Cohen in 1964. Okay, so first theorem states that there is a unique external potential which is determined by the ground state density which exists for the quantum mechanical system. In other words, in simple word, what we can say that using this first theorem, what this first theorem says that every system in nature, okay, every quantum mechanical system in nature has unique electron density. Every quantum mechanical system in nature has unique electron density. Okay, for a given different external potential, density is unique, and for a given external potential, there must be some universal functional of density. Okay, there must be some universal functional of density, that is F rho r. Okay, F rho r. See this one. Okay, but its explicit form is not known. Using this first theorem, this is just a statement. This first theorem is just a statement, and its explicit form is not known by this first theorem. This is just a statement that every system in nature has unique density, and this for a given external potential, there is an existence of universal functional F. Okay. So second theorem, what the second theorem says there? Second theorem says that ground state energy of a system, ground state energy of a quantum mechanical system is a functional of density. There is a difference between function and functional. Function is simple, fx is y is equal to fx. Okay, function is something different. Functional is something different. Like if you want, suppose if fx is equal to x squared plus 1, this is functional. This is a function of x. Fx is equal to x squared plus 1. Now, if you want to find out functional capital F, so you integrate this x squared plus 1 from given limit, suppose minus 1 to 1, it will give you some number. Okay, this is functional. So basically, function is mapping from function to number, number to number, whereas this functional is the mapping from function to number. Okay, area under the curve. Area under the curve is a very beautiful example of the functional. Okay, so in second, what the second term says that ground state energy of a system is functional of density, and for a given external potential U, system energy can be minimized by varying electron density using variation procedure. You know that variation procedure very well. That variation procedure says that the energy which we get from the guessing the wave function or guessing the density is always going to be greater than equal to the actual ground state energy. So using this variation principle and first and second theorem, the total energy in terms of functional is nothing but this is a functional, universal functional for density plus external potential functional, which is always going to be a greater than ground state energy. Basically, these two theorems are just statement. Practically, we have to apply some approximation to implement that particular theory. Okay. So in practice, actually for solids, one normally start with the energy calculated at the electron density generated by the overlapping atomic density. So in practically, what we do, we generate the atomic density from a given electron density, okay, and try to solve for the solids. Let us see how it can be, how can we calculate the properties, various properties using this density functional theory. So these two theorems, although these are the basic building block for this density functional theory, but these are just statements. Okay, practical implementation has been given by the Cohen and Sham. Practical implementation has been given by the Cohen and Sham. So what is this Cohen and Sham formulation for practical implementation of that theory? So I am going to discuss about this. I hope I am audible to all. Dr. Rao, am I audible to all? Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Okay, so the practical implementation of this density functional theory is given by Cohen and Sham. Okay, so what is this Cohen-Sham, or in other words, you can say this is nothing but this is the implementation of the density functional theory. Okay, Cohen and Sham formulation is it is approximation. Using this approximation, we go from n electron system to n one electron system. It is very important because the dealing with the n electron system is very difficult as compared to the dealing with n one electron system. Okay, so let us see what happened there. So this is a one electron system, sorry, n electron system, actual system, which is interacting system. So you can see we have peoples which can see each other. So see here, peoples can see each other. So this is actual one. So you can find out the kinetic energy and the potential energy, and in principle you can find out the exact density and exact energy. But it is very difficult. Solution of this actual system and electron system is very difficult. You cannot solve actually. So you have to apply some approximation. Approximation is that we go from n electron system to one electron system, and we assume that these one electron systems are independent and these are non-interacting. So actual peoples are replaced by the robots, which cannot see each other, but they can interact via exchange correlation term, exchange correlation functional, exchange correlation energy. So I will be discussing about this. So although they cannot interact with each other, they are not interacting, but they will be interacting via some additional term, exchange correlation energy. Okay, so in principle, you can find out the kinetic energy and effective potential here. Because here we have only kinetic energy and potential energy in the case of Schrodinger-like picture, but in the DFT-like picture, we have the effective potential, we have exchange potential, correlation potential there, Hartree potential there, and potential energy is there also. Okay, we have it. So total, this total term gives rise to the effective potential. So in principle, we can calculate this energy exactly in principle. Okay, so the kinetic energy can be easily find out, by using this just integration, just expectation value. Expectation value is nothing but integration psi I star psi I. That calculator is there for kinetic energy. Okay, so kinetic energy can be easily calculated by just finding out the expectation value of the kinetic energy term. Okay, so there is the kinetic energy has also been calculated in terms of the density. So see, this is not density functional theory is not a single attempt to do calculation in terms of density. There was an early attempt to do the calculation in terms of density, which was given by Thomas Fermi model in 1927. Okay, so there was an early attempt to do kinetic energy was also calculated by using this very simplified model that we have a homogeneous electron gas. It was very simplified version. So because it is very far from the reality. So external energy. External energy is nothing but this is an electron nuclear interaction energy. So it can be find out just by again expectation value of the external potential. Okay, similar to that of the kinetic energy. Hartree energy. So the third term is the Hartree energy in this Cohen-Sham formulation. Hartree energy is basically potential basically comes from the interaction between an electron at R, electron position at R, and mean electron density at R dash. in a meaningful approximation. So what is this meaningful approximation? Since we are dealing with the density, so suppose we have the C of 100 electrons in a system. Okay, if you take the 100 electron system, we have 100 electron C. Okay, C of the 100 electrons. What we do, we take one electron from that C of electrons and try to find out the interaction between that particular electron with the remaining electrons and all other nuclei. Okay, in the mean field, in average manner. Mean field mean in an average manner. Okay, so each electron of that particular system is interacting in an average manner to the other electrons and nuclei. Okay, so Hartree potential can be written like this. This is Hartree potential, is density at R and interaction between the density at R and R dash. Okay, so once you obtain this potential, Hartree energy is nothing but integration of that potential with the density, and this is the actual form of the Hartree potential, Hartree energy. Hartree energy is nothing but the interaction between this the two charge distribution. Simple interaction, simple classical type of interaction is there in the Hartree energy. So another thing is the last one was exchange correlation energy. Exchange correlation energy. In the case of density functional theory, this exchange and correlation energy was considered in a single term. Okay, exchange energy is nothing but you can in simple manner, simple way. Exchange energy is just the interaction between the two electrons having same spin. And correlation energy is nothing but this is the interaction between the two electrons having different spins in a simple term. Okay, in principle, exchange energy can be calculated exactly. You can, in principle, you can calculate exchange energy exactly using the Hartree-Fock method. But problem with Hartree-Fock method is that it is very, very complicated. It is very, very complicated in terms, because in Hartree-Fock method we deal with in terms of wave function, and computationally it is very, very computationally expensive to calculate the exact exchange energy. In principle, you can calculate from the Hartree-Fock method. Okay. So correlation energy in the case of density functional theory, correlation energy and exchange energy both are considered in a single entity. Okay, so there are there are different terms such as kinetic energy and the external energy. Okay, Hartree energy. These three terms can be calculated easily. These are known terms for you. But exchange correlation energy is unknown term. It is an unknown term, so we have to discuss this unknown terms firstly in order to calculate the properties using the density function theory or the Kohn-Sham theory. Okay. So if you see the energy contribution in the case of helium atom, total energy of the helium atom is minus 2.904 Hartree. Okay. In this total energy, the external energy is the most of the contribution comes from the external energy. That is the electron nuclear interaction energy, which is the 53%. Okay, and Hartree energy contributes the 16% nearly, and kinetic energy contributes 22.51%. And exchange and correlation energy, that energy which I was talking about, exchange and correlation energy, it contributes only 8.38%. It contributes only 8.38%. If you see this graph, exact energy for the helium molecule, when you take the two helium atom, when you bring two helium atom closer to and closer, what you see the energy of the two, this helium molecule is going to be, exact energy is going to be here. Okay, in the Hartree theory, energy is going to be here, very far from that exact energy. In the Hartree-Fock case, it is going to be nearly close to that of exact energy here. But in the case of density functional theory and some approximation, GG approximation is there for DFT. This is very, very close. This is closest to that of the exact energy. Okay, so question is, although this energy, this exchange correlation energy is very, very small contribution, it has very, very small contribution, 8% nearly. So why we bother about such a small exchange correlation energy? Question is this. Okay, this is very important question, that if the contribution is very, very small, so why we have to bother about this? Its answer is that exchange energy is actively involved in the changes happening in the atomic, molecular, solid system. The changes happening in the atomic, molecular, and solid system. For example, if you want to find out the particular solid system in a particular unit cell. Suppose if you calculate the energy in the BCC cell, body centered cell, if you calculate energy in the FCC cell, phase center cubic cell. Okay, so this particular exchange correlation energy, it decides that whether this particular system solid is going to be stable in BCC structure or the FEC structure. This is one of the thing. Another thing is that, for example, if you are dealing with the surface and you are doing some doping in that particular surface, and you want to know that at what side that atom or molecule is stable. That is, whether it is stable on hollow side, whether it is stable on top side, and so on. There are various sides in the surface. Okay, this thing is also decided by this exchange correlation energy. Okay, also magnetic materials. Magnetic material means whether this particular material is going to be ferromagnetic or anti-ferromagnetic. It is also decided by this particular exchange correlation energy. Although its contribution is very small, but it is very important. It is very important in terms of the physical properties such as the structural stability and the magnetism and the absorption on the surface. So that's why it is very important to consider that particular exchange correlation energy. Okay, so Cohen-Cham equation. So Cohen-Cham, how this Cohen-Cham equation looks like. So the formulation of that Cohen-Cham equation is very similar to that of the Schrodinger equation. Okay, you can find out firstly define the Hamiltonian, Cohen-Cham Hamiltonian, and you find out the total energy by just calculating the expectation value, similar to that of the Schrodinger equation. Okay, so one different thing is that in the case of the Schrodinger equation, we apply the variation principle. Variation principle. Here we apply variation principle also, but with Lagrange multiplier. But here the variation principle with constraint. Constraint is that the total number of electrons, total number of the particle in a system is constant. It is not varying. It should not vary. Okay, that's why in the DFT, in the Cohen-Cham formulation, the variation principle is constrained one, which is called the Lagrange multiplier method. Okay, so this is the particular typical equation for applying this constraint variation principle. Okay, so you can just, I'm not going into details of that mathematical term because I have the less time. So the mathematical term is like this. What you take, you just apply the variation principle. Okay, and this term in the variation principle is due to the constraint nature of that minimization procedure. Lambda is the Lagrange multiplier and rho r is the density. So this, you can write this rho r in terms of these orbitals here. Okay, so you can rearrange these different terms here in the Cohen-Cham equation, and you can just substitute the potential here. So in the case of this energy functional, we have energy here. Energy functional, it consists of the external energy, that is the electron nuclear interaction energy. Okay, second one is Hartree energy and exchange correlation energy. So what you do, you just substitute here in terms of the exchange, this external potential, Hartree potential, exchange correlation potential. And these potentials basically are nothing but when you find out the functional derivative of this potential with respect to density, it will give you the energy, this energy. Okay, so you got this equation. Actually, this is nothing but this is the external potential. This term is the Hartree potential. This term is the exchange correlation potential. Lambda I are these Lagrange multiplier. Okay, so I can define this Lagrange multiplier, these lambda i's as epsilon I. So now equation becomes this one. This is kinetic energy part, and this is a U effective potential. U effective consists of external potential, Hartree potential, and exchange correlation potential. Okay, and epsilon I here are the eigenvalue. Now I am defining in density function theory. Now we are defining this Lagrange multiplier as the eigenvalue, energy eigenvalue. Okay, so finally we got this type of equation. This is Hamiltonian, and these are the orbitals. This is eigenvalue. This is something like H psi equal to E psi, where H is the Cohen-Cham Hamiltonian, and phi i's are the Cohen-Cham orbitals or the wave functions. Epsilon I are the energy eigenvalues. Okay, so phi I are the Cohen-Cham equation. So this epsilon I basically, these can be defined like this. These epsilon i's are the energy eigenvalue. This is the change in the energy with respect to the density. This is nothing but which is equivalent to that of the chemical potential. which is the equivalent to that of the chemical potential. And you can say that if it is like that, you can say that highest occupied state is equivalent to that of the exact ionization potential. Exact ionization potential. So in this way, we can define the Kohn-Sham equation. It is different than that of Schrodinger equation in terms of this. In Schrodinger equation, we have only this kinetic energy and potential energy. But in the case of Kohn-Sham equation, we have the Hartree energy term, Hartree potential, exchange correlation potential as well. Okay, so all the terms here, it has strong quantum mechanical basis. Kinetic energy, potential energy here, Hartree energy. These have strong quantum mechanical basis. But this exchange correlation part is unknown to us. This part is unknown to us. So for this, we have to apply some kind of approximation. The first approximation is called the local density approximation, LDA. So when we do this DFT calculations, you use some approximation that functional, so some says that I am using LDA functional, some say that I am using GGA functional. Okay, what are these LDA GGA functional? These are basically the approximation for the exchange correlation potential. Okay, so if you see this local density approximation, so local actual density is like this. So you can see this is actual density. So you can see the clear picture of a particular system. Clear picture. Actual density, but it is impossible to calculate exact exchange correlation energy. So what we do to find out the exchange correlation energy, we take the homogeneous electron gas. We take the homogeneous electron gas. See, density here, it is varying. So we take a small portion of this homogeneous electron gas density. So density here you can see there is small density, larger density. So density is varying, but in local density approximation, we take small portion, okay, small blocks, and try to find out the exchange correlation energy. So actually, in density in the local density approximation is coming out to be like this. Means it is not like exact, it is not like ideal situation, it is in between this exact and ideal situation. Okay, mathematically, I'm not going to the much because I have less time. I'm not going to the much details of that mathematical details of local density approximation and the other approximation. So, but I want to say that this exchange correlation energy exchange correlation energy functional can be calculated like this: integration of the density, okay, total density of that particular homogeneous electron gas, and exchange correlation energy of that particular small portion. Particular small portion, and integration over whole space. It will give you the total exchange correlation energy in the local density approximation. Okay, so you can also, once you obtain the exchange correlation energy, you can easily find out the exchange correlation potential using the local density approximation by just taking the functional derivative of that particular exchange correlation energy with respect to the density. Okay. So for spin polarized system, you can take spin up spin density, down spin density. Same thing is there. Okay. So LDA, GGA functional. So, but you must have heard about when you take the functional form in the actual DFT calculation. You take that. You say that I am taking the PZ functional. I am taking PW functional. So these are the functional various functional in the local density. Local density approximation. Today we have lots of functional form, and most commonly used local density functional form are the PZ and separately added CA or PW. Okay, so this was the okay. Am I audible to all?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, so
Yes,
okay, thank you. Okay, so okay, thank you. So generalized gradient approximation, GGA. We say that sometimes we say that I am using GGA functional in the calculation. I am using LDA functional in GGA functional. I am using BB functional, so on. Okay. So GGA approximation. What is GGA approximation? In the GGA approximation, GGA not only captures the local density approximation, but also it also captures the semi-local information. Not only capture the local information, but also the semi-local information. What is the semi-local information? Not only the density. Here, not only in this exchange correlation energy in GGA, it doesn't capture only the density, local density, but also the gradient. What is the meaning of gradient? Its meaning is that you are also taking the varying density in the space. Okay, so actually, if you see the actual system, actually in system is not homogeneous. So density will be varied. Actually, for example, if you take any solid system, okay, density is not going to be homogeneous, such as in the localized approximation. So density will be varying with the space. Okay, so in GGA approximation, this gradient is also taken, means varying of density is also taken care. Okay, so that it is considered to be this GGA approximation is considered to be the best one, more accurate than the LDA approximation. Okay, so many different forms of GGA have been proposed by various authors. The popular choices are PW91, that is Purdue and Wong 91 or 92. PV function is the most commonly used function nowadays. This is given by Purdue, Burke, and Aronzaref, 1966. Okay, in 1996. Okay, so this PV version of GGA includes features such as local density, local electron density, and its gradient. And its gradient is the second order gradient actually. Okay, its gradient is the second order gradient, that is del square form. Okay, this is a form of this PV function which is commonly used in the modern days density functional theory calculations. So if you see this table, so GGA works very well within almost all systems. Okay, giving most structural properties within the 1 to 3% error. Okay, if you see this lattice constant here, so this is a calculated one, is this one, this row, this column is a calculated one, and this is experimental one. See, aluminium experimental value is 4.032, and theoretically calculated using GGA functional DFT, it is 4.040. It's very close, very close to that of the experimental value. So and also the bulk modulus. Okay. Another functionals are the hybrid function. I'm not going to details of the hybrid function because I have less time. These are most accurate one. Hybrid functions are most accurate one as compared to GGA one. Okay, so the second last or last slide is there. That's solving the Schrodinger equation. Okay, how to solve Schrodinger equation? Sorry, Cohen-Sham equation. So Cohen-Sham equation, basically it is a ground state equation. It is non-linear couple equation, self-consistent, non-attracting one electron, and it is easier to solve, and it is a Schrodinger-like equation. Okay, see, this is the Cohen-Sham equation. H psi is equal to E psi. Okay, and the density actually, this density can be obtained using this Cohen-Sham orbitals phi i's, using this expression. Okay, so actually Cohen-Sham orbitals phi i's, electron density rho r, and Cohen-Sham Hamiltonian HKS interrelated. These are interrelated. Okay, so Cohen-Sham orbital actually, we start with the, if you want to calculate the properties of that particular solid force or particular material, what you do, you obtain the Cohen-Sham orbitals, means you obtain the orbitals from the valence electrons of that particular system, valence orbitals. Okay, so once you obtain Cohen-Sham orbitals, it calculates the electron density for you using this expression. Okay, this Cohen-Sham orbital can be obtained from the actual system which you are calculating, and using these Cohen-Sham orbitals, you calculate the density. Okay, so electron density calculates the Cohen-Sham Hamiltonian. So once you obtain this density, what you obtain, then you obtain this Cohen-Sham Hamiltonian. Cohen-Sham Hamiltonian, which has the different terms. Okay, kinetic energy is there. You see, effective potential. We have external potential, Cohen-Sham, exchange collision potential, and the third one is the Hartree potential. Using these orbitals, you can obtain density. Using this density, you can obtain this Cohen-Sham Hamiltonian. Okay, so once you obtain this Cohen-Sham Hamiltonian, you can solve this Cohen-Sham equation, and you find out the new density or new Cohen-Sham orbitals, and so on. And this procedure will be go on until you get the self-consistency. Okay, so for a given extent correlation functional, extent correlation this can be calculated using like this. Okay, so again you need this procedure, and so this diagram is very important. And you can see here what you do basically. We calculate the density, trial density, and then we take the extent correlation functional from this trial density, and then we calculate the Cohen-Sham Hamiltonian. Okay, so once you obtain the Cohen-Sham Hamiltonian, then you can solve the Cohen-Sham equation like this. So solving this quantum equation means you obtain the new density, the new orbital. From the new orbital, you obtain the new density. If the density is converged, then you can calculate the forces, you can update the position ion position. If it is not converged, then you can go again back to that of the this quantum Hamiltonian. Again, you can evaluate this quantum Hamiltonian and go on repeating this step until you get the density. Okay, once you get convert density and convert forces in position, you can calculate the energy and other properties. The total energy of the system is obtained, okay, in terms of, for example, lattice parameter. Various fundamental properties comes out
वो है
naturally.
प्लाजो
For example, stable structure, bond length, angles. Yes, yes, please.
अच्छा लग रहा है ये जो डॉटेड
So how
है
much? Yeah.
ये स्पार्कल है या वो है
Hello.
वाइट
Hello.
Yes, sir. Clear.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Should I continue? I will take 3 or 4 minutes only.
No, sir. Continue.
Okay, thank you. So once you obtain this total energy using the self-consistent procedure in terms of lattice parameters, various properties comes out naturally. For example, stable structure, bond length, bond angles, cohesive energy, okay, bulk modulus, elastic constant, surface construction, effect information energies, pressure-driven phase transition, and etc. Okay, for example, if once you obtain the total energy, you can find out the bulk modulus. Bulk modulus is nothing but volume. This is the change in the double derivative of this energy with respect to the volume, pressure, curly upon curly V. You have energy, you can find out the pressure. You have energy, you can find out the forces. Okay, you have energy, you can find out the stress in terms of the strain tensor. Okay, so once you obtain this and total energy, you can find out the various properties naturally. Okay, so for this theory, development of this theory, Walter Cohen got Nobel Prize in 1996. He got Nobel Prize for this development of this theory. Okay, so important reference of this particular lecture is this paper. This is very very good paper. This is actually Nobel lecture by the Walter Cohen. This paper and this book is very important, very easy book actually. So I will suggest if you want to do the DFT based calculation, I would suggest that go with this book, Computational Material Science, Jung Lee, second edition. Okay, another book is the classical book is that electron structure by the Richard M. Martin. Okay, so that's all from this lecture. If you have any questions, you can ask. Now this lecture is open for the questions.
Yes, participants can raise questions. Participants may ask
Hello.
the theory.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Sir, myself Angat. I want to know about that how hybrid functional are more accurate than GGA. What are the additional terms that are added to hybrid function which make more accurate than GGA?
Okay, so this is actually very good question. Yes, thank you. Okay, so this is very good question. The question is how hybrid functional works or how hybrid functional is accurate one. So actually, in the hybrid functional, we take exact exchange energy. In the DFT, exchange correlation energy is we deal with the exchange correlation energy which is in approximate manner. Okay, but in hybrid functional, the exchange some portion, not all, some portion of this exchange energy is calculated exactly. For example, if you take HSE functional, in HSE functional, 25% of the exchange energy is accurate one. 25% of the exchange energy is accurate one. Also in DFT, simple conventional DFT, this exchange energy and correlation energy both are in approximate manner. So in that sense, it is more accurate than the GGA functional, because we take the some portion of exact exchange energy. We cannot take all the exchange energy exactly, because in that case, what happened? Our calculation becomes very computation expensive. Because if you want to calculate the exact exchange energy, you have to calculate in the case of Hartree-Fock method exchange energy. Okay, so we take some portion only, 25% in the case of the Hartree method, for example, in the case of HSE functional actually. Okay, in that sense, it is accurate than the simple GGA functional. So I hope I am able to make you understand about this.
Okay, sir.
Yes, further question? No further question? Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ashok, sir. Thanks a lot
Okay, thank you very much.
to give such a kind talk on introduction to density function theory.
Queries are in the chat box also.
So, on behalf of the organizing committee and I, Dr. B. Keshwar Rao, thank you to you to expel your valuable time. Thank you, sir.